Hello, my name's Penelope. I'm 34 years old and I have a revenge story to share. I was always a hard-headed go-getter, fiercely independent in every aspect of my life. And that's why it was no surprise that my attitude clashed with my husband, Idris. He had this traditional mindset, wanting a wife who was more submissive and conforming to societal norms. You might be thinking, okay, so why did you marry him then? And that's because Idris wasn't always like this. At first, I thought we were on the same page about marriage, but as time went on, I started to notice a shift in his behavior. The way he looked at me changed, and it became apparent that I was no longer his type. I tried to be understanding, believing that people change and grow. Deep down, I knew it wasn't fair to either of us to stay in a marriage where we were no longer fulfilled. I brought up the idea of a divorce, hoping to part ways amicably. But to my surprise, Idris refused, claiming that he couldn't imagine his life without me. I didn't understand his reluctance to let go when he clearly wasn't happy with me anymore. Months went by and I couldn't shake this feeling of unease between us, despite him fighting for this relationship. I couldn't ignore the nagging suspicion that Idris was hiding something from me. One day, unable to resist my curiosity any longer, I found myself going through his phone while he was asleep. It felt like a betrayal of trust, but I needed to know the truth. And there it was, the evidence staring back at me, confirming my worst fears. Idris had been cheating on me with someone named Juliet. My heart sank as I scrolled through the messages and saw the intimate conversations they had shared. It was a punch to the gut, a painful realization that the person I had devoted my life to, the person I had a child with, had betrayed me. Tears streamed down my face as I grappled with the magnitude of the deception. I couldn't comprehend how Idris could carry on this affair while claiming to love me and refusing to let me go. In that moment, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. How long had this been going on? And more importantly, why would he choose to stay with me if he was having this affair? Surely he would want to be with her and not me, right? All those times he stayed out late or came home with a distant look in his eyes suddenly made sense. I had been living a lie, and my world was crumbling around me. I couldn't contain my anger any longer. I confronted Idris, my voice trembling with a mix of hurt and fury. How could you do this to me? How could you cheat on me after everything? Really? To my surprise, Idris didn't even flinch. He just looked at me with a cold indifference, as if my discovery meant nothing to him. It was like a dagger to my heart, realizing that the man I once loved could be so callous. Aren't you even sorry? Idris's expression remained unchanged as he casually replied, Penelope, you don't understand. Juliet is my soulmate. We're meant to be together. How long has this been going on? Idris hesitated for a moment before admitting, It's been a year now. My heart shattered into a million pieces, the weight of the betrayal crushing me from within. A whole year of lies, treachery, and secrets. A year that I had spent oblivious to the truth while Idris was building a connection with someone else. I couldn't comprehend his lack of remorse. If you found your so-called soulmate, why did you refuse the divorce? Why put me through all this pain, huh? Idris stumbled over his words, unable to provide a satisfactory answer. He looked lost, like a coward caught in his own web of deceit. Anger surged through my veins as I lashed out, unable to contain my emotions any longer. You spineless turd! How dare you put me through this? You're nothing but a coward, incapable of facing the consequences of your actions. Idris stood there, his face a mixture of guilt and cowardice. I saw him for who he truly was, a man who couldn't face the reality of the damage he had caused. In that moment, my fury turned into a fierce determination. I would no longer allow him to define my worth or dictate my happiness. I want a divorce, and I want you out of this house. Oh, come on, Penelope. Don't call me that. Where am I supposed to go at this time of night? Maybe you can go to your mistress's house. I'm sure she'd be happy to have you because she can keep you. That night, Idris packed a duffel bag and drove off to be with the supposed woman that he loved. I was devastated. But if I was being honest, this was a long time coming. We weren't in love anymore, so it was bound to happen. I just couldn't wrap my head around why he would stay with me, knowing that he had his soulmate somewhere else. Despite my initial instinct to shield Maverick from the painful truth, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the secret I was carrying. It gnawed at me, causing turmoil within. I knew deep down that honesty was essential, but I couldn't bear to disrupt my son's world and his view of his father. So I chose to keep the truth hidden, creating a temporary facade for Maverick's sake. I told him that his dad had gone on an emergency business trip, hoping to preserve his innocence a little longer and give myself time to process the devastating revelations I had just uncovered. Days turned into nights and nights into days as I grappled with the shattered remnants of my marriage. I sought solace in moments of solitude, desperately trying to piece together the fragments of my heart. But amidst the chaos of my emotions, I noticed something unsettling. Mysterious charges on my credit cards. Confusion turned to alarm as I scanned through the list of transactions. The charges were from various restaurants and establishments I had never been to. It didn't take long for the truth to unfold before me like a sinister puzzle. Idris, the man I had once trusted with my life and safety, was using my credit cards without my knowledge or consent. Anger and betrayal surged within me, mingling with the pain I had already endured. How could he keep twisting the knife deeper and deeper into my back, like it wasn't deeply lodged in there already? It was as if his betrayal had reached even darker depths, expanding beyond the confines of our shattered marriage. Determined to confront him, I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. The conversation that followed was tense and filled with accusations. I demanded answers, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. Idris stumbled through his words, attempting feeble explanations that did nothing to justify his actions. Idris, what the heck is going on? You have been using my credit cards. Explain yourself. Penelope, please, let me explain. I know it's wrong, but you don't understand. I need to use these cards to impress Juliet. She's important to me and I want to make her happy. I knew that you wouldn't be okay with it, and that's why I did it behind your back. Are you out of your mind, Idris? How can you even ask me to use my money to fund your affair? Are you sick in the head? Penelope, please understand. I don't want to jeopardize this. She's special to me. Oh, how noble of you, Idris. You want to preserve your affair while using my resources to sustain it. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. The reason why Idris stayed with me despite the request for a divorce. You little dirtbag. I just figured it out. Oh my goodness. How could I be so foolish? The reason you wanted to stay with me even though you were cheating was because you couldn't afford to spoil your mistress on your own. I didn't know how to tell you, Penelope. It's just I was paying for everything before. You see, Julia is an expensive woman and I thought that I could keep up with her tastes. But then I started racking up debts on my cards, and that's when I had the idea to use your cards. You worthless little... I promise I'll pay you back. Just help me, please. We're on a trip right now, but it's coming to an end soon, meaning she'll stop spending so much money and it'll be okay. Just help me, please. Help you? I should murder you right now. You must have done some drugs, because there's no way that you're asking me to fund your affair. You're insane. Penelope, I'm sorry. You have every right to be mad. I never meant for it to come to this. I love Juliet, but I still care about you. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me and let me continue using the credit cards? You can take out all of your anger on me. You can even get the house. Just please, for now, help me out. I cut the call, refusing to entertain his BS any longer. He tried calling me back, but after I kept declining his advances, he resorted to spamming my phone with a myriad of texts telling me to help him out if I loved him. To say I was fuming would be an understatement. I genuinely felt like my head was going to explode. I was pacing around my room, creating electricity from my feet with all the friction. I contacted my bank to report the unauthorized charges, seeking to reclaim my financial independence and sever the remaining ties that bound us together. I took a deep breath, my anger subsiding as I shifted into action mode. I reached for her phone after tossing it aside and immediately dialed the customer service number of my credit card company. After a few moments on hold, I was finally connected with the representative. Hi, I recently discovered unauthorized charges on my credit card statement. My estranged husband has been using my cards without my consent. I need to report this and take appropriate action. After several minutes, I was assured by the representative that everything would be all right and that Idris would no longer have access to my cards. After doing what I needed to do, I completely broke down, allowing myself to properly ugly cry at this whole situation. As I lay on the bed, tears streaming down my face, the weight of betrayal crushing my spirit, I couldn't control the violent sobs that racked my body. It felt like my world was falling apart and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. In the midst of my anguish, I heard the soft footsteps of Maverick approaching. "Mom, are you okay?" Maverick's voice was filled with concern as he entered the room. His eyes widened as he took in the sight of me, broken and vulnerable. I attempted to compose myself, wiping away my tears and putting on a brave face. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed. Nothing for you to worry about." Maverick, sensing something was amiss, wouldn't be so easily convinced. He gently sat down beside me, his hand reaching out to hold mine. "Mom, I know you. Something's really wrong. Please, tell me what's going on." I took a deep breath, the weight of the truth pressing heavily on my chest. With a shaky voice, I revealed the painful reality to my son. "Maverick, your father, he's been cheating on me, cheating on this family, and now I've discovered that he's been using my finances to support his affair." Maverick's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. His grip tightened on my hand, a mixture of anger and sadness etched across his face. "Mom, how could he do this to you? How could he betray us like this?" I felt a wave of shame wash over me, embarrassed that my son had to witness the destruction of our family. "I don't know, sweetheart. I never thought this would happen to us. I thought your father and I were building a life together. Sure, things weren't great between us, and at some point I even asked for a divorce because I was so unloved. But he refused, only to turn around and hurt me like this." Maverick's voice grew firm with determination. "Mom, we'll get through this together. I'm here for you, always." Those words, spoken with unwavering support, lifted a weight off my shoulders. I realized that despite the pain and betrayal, I had a strong and loving son who would stand by my side. Together, we would navigate the storm that had been thrust upon us. As mother and son embraced, a newfound sense of resilience washed over us. In that moment, I knew that no matter what lay ahead, we would face it with unwavering strength and determination. The journey to rebuild our lives would be challenging, but with Maverick by my side, I felt a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. "You know, we have to get back at him, right?" "What?" "Yep. You named me Maverick for a reason, right?" "Mav, that's crazy. What could we possibly do to teach him a lesson?" "Well, we could... something that's legal, honey." "Ah, right. Maverick thought for a second, and then he said, "Do you know anything else about this new lady?" I sighed, racking my brain for any additional information. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. All I know is her name is Juliet and that she loves money, apparently. I don't have any other details about her." Maverick's gaze turned thoughtful, and then a light bulb seemed to flicker above his head. "Wait a minute, Mom. I have an idea." He quickly pulled out his phone and started scrolling through his messages and apps. I watched with curiosity, wondering what he was up to. "What are you doing?" "I'm checking if Dad is still linked to our family Uber account." I furrowed my brow, not understanding the connection. "Why do you need to know that?" A mischievous grin spread across his face as he explained. "If Dad used the Uber account, there's a chance he might have put Juliet's location as the destination at some point, and we can check it on here." "Oh my goodness, you're a genius, son!" "When I kicked him out, I told him to go to his mistress's place. So we'll know where he went for sure." "Nice. Good work, Mom." "Okay, but now what?" "Now we pack all his crap and ship it over to her place." "That's absolutely brilliant. You're a genius." "And we can leave lovely little surprises in his luggage, like covering all his clothes in glitter and dousing all of his documents in spoiled milk." Now you're getting it. Laughter filled the room as we conjured up our revenge plan. At that moment, I couldn't help but marvel at the strength and resilience of my son. Despite the heartache, he managed to infuse light into our darkest hour, reminding me that love and laughter would prevail. As we gathered Idris's belongings, had fun with them by infesting them with insects, spraying them with skunk spray, covering them in glitter, and dousing them in spoiled milk, mustard, and beet juice, we wrapped them in boxes and sealed them with a mix of satisfaction and determination. Our laughter echoed all throughout the house. In that moment, I realized that no matter what hardships lay ahead, we would face them head-on, united as a team. As a finishing touch, the icing on the cake, if you will, Maverick and I each wrote a letter that we attached to the boxes, talking about our grievances and exposing Idris for the low life he truly is. I was determined to ruin everything he held dear, and then perhaps I would be satisfied. The next day, as the sun's rays spilled into my living room, I felt a mix of anticipation and satisfaction. Maverick and I had successfully sent all of Idris's belongings to the address that had been recorded in the Uber account. It was a symbolic act, a visual representation of our detachment from the man who had betrayed us. Just as I was reveling in our small victory, my phone rang and I saw Idris's name flashing on the screen. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the confrontation that was about to unfold. "Hello?" Idris's voice erupted from the other end of the line. Filled with anger and frustration, he shouted, blaming me for the cancellation of the credit cards, claiming it had forced him and Juliet to end their trip prematurely. But his words fell on deaf ears, for I had found my voice and my strength. "You have no right to yell at me, Idris. You are nothing more than worthless scum. Don't bother coming back home. Go straight to your precious mistress's house." Confusion laced his voice as he asked why, and then with a sense of satisfaction I revealed the truth. "Because, dear Idris, all of your previous belongings are already there, sitting on the curb." Fear seeped into his tone, his desperation palpable. He pleaded with me, begging for forgiveness and asking me to take him back, but I had grown weary of his lies and betrayal. I had found my voice and I refused to be silenced any longer. Penny, I'm so sorry about everything. I was wrong. It was a lapse in my judgment. Please, you have to take me back. I love you. Oh, so now you're sorry after all this time. I didn't think that you'd kick me out for good. She won't take me and all my belongings, Penny. Please, you gotta help me. No, Idris. You don't get to come crawling back now. You deserve whatever consequences are coming your way. Goodbye. With that, I ended the call, feeling a surge of liberation washing over me. The weight that I had carried for so long was slowly lifting, making room for a newfound sense of freedom and self-worth. Maverick, witnessing my strength, smiled at me from across the room. We knew that this was just the beginning of our journey towards healing and rebuilding. Together, we would navigate the challenges that lay ahead, supporting each other and creating a future defined by resilience and self-love. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the wounds slowly began to heal. We found solace in each other's company, cherishing the bond that had grown stronger through adversity. Our laughter returned, filling our home with warmth and joy, a testament to our resilience and unwavering spirit. And, as for Idris, he was left to face the consequences of his actions. The embarrassment and shame that he feared were merely reflections of the choices he had made. While his world crumbled, I stood tall, knowing that I had emerged from the darkness stronger and more determined than ever before. Word on the curb is that his precious Juliet confronted him about his belongings on her property, and now she's kicked him out. Apparently he's been motel hopping and couch surfing for months. In the end, I'm glad I did what I did. I genuinely believe that Idris has an underlying mental condition that needs to be checked out. I was glad that I stood my ground and got my revenge. And don't worry, the divorce proceedings are well underway. I can't wait until I'm officially severed from this man completely. This revenge was conducive to my growth. It was about reclaiming my life and dignity, rediscovering my worth and embracing the power of resilience. Together, Maverick and I forged a new path, one filled with hope, love, and a promise of a brighter future, without that idiot as a father and husband.